Oh, could you turn that off? Thank you. Make your neck long. Look over your opposite shoulder. Feel the tension. Then look back at your hand. See if you can turn a little bit more. And unwind. Here. This time, look at your hand. Turn. Make your neck long, tall. Look over your shoulder. Look back at your hand. Turn a little bit more. And unwind. So turn in your thoracic spine. Turn in your hips. And turn on your feet. Your foot is pivoting on the mat. I don't know if you can see. We worked on that a week or two ago. Pivoting on your foot. So turn from your foot, your hip, your spine, your eyes and attention, and then turn to the other side. And as you turn, notice where your weight is on your feet. Just notice. All right, this time, turn in such a way that you bring your weight into this leg, my right leg as I look to the left. So this one's light, this one's heavy. And then I switch. I'm going to turn, put my weight into this leg, and this one becomes light. This time, turn in such a way that you put your weight in your front foot as you finish. You turn and you bring your weight into this leg. This time, start with your weight forward, like you're in Hamni. Bring your weight halfway so you feel 50-50 even Steven on both feet. Find that pivot point over the first MPJ and turn. Finish with your weight forward. Knee in the frame of your foot, not beyond your toes, but this muscle should be working. Head over pelvis. Shift halfway, pivot, and finish with weight forward. You start to shift your weight, you pivot at the halfway point, turn. Smooth it out. All right, this time, feet together, knees together, sink and release. As you sink down, your knees come toward the forefoot, but not past the toes. And then as you stand up, the knees go back toward the heel or the back portion of your foot, but keep the whole sole of your foot well connected to the ground. All right, this time change your intention. Imagine you're sinking down maybe with a basketball. You've got something, you're going to slow motion jump into the air. If you have, you can imagine taking a foul shot if you remember playing basketball, or just picking something up and then tossing it up. Feel that extension, knees, hips, spine. All right, this time sink down into this familiar position, knees together, feet together, and take your bottom left and right. So your knees stay in the frame of your foot. This time sink down just a little bit, swivel in your spine. Maybe recall this motion. Your hips stay square, but you're moving your upper body. Find that easy rotation. All right, this time change your angle. So you probably can't see this line, but if I'm on a line like this, I'm going to change about 45 degrees. So now I'm looking at you over, almost over my shoulder, that kind of angle. My feet are oriented this way, but my eyes are oriented this way, which invites a little rotation in the thoracic spine, right? The sense of bringing your shoulder around. Let's do that for a moment. Sink a little bit in your knees and hips, just so it's supple. Turn. This may seem like a strange movement, but it's actually really relevant to our ichi no tachi form. Let's do the other side. Sink a little bit, make sure you're supple, well connected to the ground, and turn. All right. Let's just mobilize the hips so the feet are under the hip joints. Try to sense when your feet are right under your hip joints. Now take your pelvis, bring the whole thing forward. You feel your weight come into your toes a little bit. Take the whole thing back. Feel the weight in your heels. Toes connection to the ground is a little light. Bring your pelvis forward and back. And sense the change happening in your feet. Change in your balance and your weight allocation. Back to center. Now bring your hip over to the left, like someone's got a string around you and is pulling you to the left. So you're initiating movement from this part of your body, sending it over. Feel the lightness now in this foot, sense of weight in this foot, and especially over the edge or blade of the foot. Bring yourself back to center and shift your pelvis over to the right, almost at the edge of your balance. Come back. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you can feel the shift. Sense the weight go deeper into the edge or blade of the foot. And back to center. Now take the whole pelvis and move it in a circle. It comes forward, side, back. If you were standing in a big pipe, it's like you're wiping the inside of the pipe. Try to keep your head over your feet. So it's the middle part of your body that's moving. Change direction. Okay. Now bring your weight to the left foot and let's just run through this warm up of your foot, ankle, hip. Keep the knee safe. Draw a little line around your foot. Feel the movement in your hip joint as you reach What does it take to reach not just here, but even a little further, maybe sink down a little further and find that extra bit of rotation. This side, sink a little bit, find that extra inch of rotation. And bring your weight to the other side. All right. When you step forward, where you put this foot is going to make a difference when you pivot and finish your stability. So we went over this in detail in a prior lesson, but using a line or the sense of a line on the floor, step forward on the line, pivot, finish, weight forward. Step forward on the line, pivot, finish, weight forward. This time, experiment and step just in line with your own hip. So if I'm stepping with my left foot, it means my left foot lands a little bit to the left of that line, my center line. Now pivot a full 180 degrees and sense the vulnerability here, your shikaku weak balance angle. This time, step forward just a little bit to the right of the line, so it's more in line with this hip, and pivot. Sense that hamni-like stance. All right, so you have right on the line, a little bit to the left of the line, sense the twist, and a little bit to the right of the line, and turn. All right, let's do the same on the other side. So this time I'm going to have my left foot forward. I'm going to step forward with the right foot. First way, right on the line, pivot. Find good hamni stance, weight forward, and reverse the whole motion. Step up to the right of the line, in line with my right hip. Turn. Sense that vulnerability, the sense of the third leg of the tripod here. And reverse the movie. This time, my right leg steps up a little bit to the left of my center line. One. And reverse. Two. And reverse. Three. All right, so let's apply this to a simple shihogiri. Sometimes we do slide and cut, pivot, slide and cut, but today let's do step and cut so you can apply this idea to your shihogiri. So as a breathing exercise, you can step up, pivot, and lower your hands to your hips, sink into the front leg. Step up for direction number 2, pivot, cut. This time, take the back leg out to the side. Step forward, pivot, cut. All right, let's do the other side. And you can just work with this idea of the line and notice the stability of your pivots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left side. Stepping with the right foot. Each. Knee. Sa. Shi. We're going to go right foot. Stepping with right hamni. Stepping with the left foot each time. Each. Knee. Sa. Shi. All right. If you have bokken, let's pick up bokken. You can borrow mine. Borrow that bokken right there. So first, just shift your weight forward and back. Sense the balance and weight of your weapon. So on this exercise, my center line is here, center line of my body, but my suburi exercise is working to tie in the hand and arm to my whole body. So the bokken goes up and down. You could think of it as parallel to your center line. It's over here. It's an exercise. It's not here. Here. Shift your weight. Let the shift of weight move the weapon. Sense the weight of the tip coming down. Shift your weight to bring the tip up. Shift your weight to let it come down. So your hand, your arm is just in service to the movement. It's not overly driving the movement. It's not steering the weapon. Let's do the other side. All right, this time, go ahead and put the weapon in line with the center line of your body. I have this blue tape on the floor as a reference mark. Shift your weight back. Bring the tip up. Shift your weight forward and cut. For this simple exercise, there's no stepping, just shifting weight. Sense how you use the ground, your feet, the legs driving weight forward, using your back leg. Change feet, but keep the hands the same, left at the end, right just above. Keep head over pelvis. Don't lean forward too much. Keep head over pelvis as you shift your weight. Use your legs to shift your weight. Okay. So now I want to cut my partner, but he's a little bit close. So I'm going to step back to adjust the distance. All right. Raise, step back, and cut. What's the calibration or relationship between the upper body motion and the hip and legs? You want to draw your hip back. The hip takes the foot. Finish in hamni just off of your original line. So if you're working with a line here, turn your hip, step back. We worked on that a lot previous sessions. So sometimes I see people step back, they fully settle their weight, and this comes afterwards. And that over time can create tension in your back. So when you step back, your foot should find the ground, and then the turn of the hip is matched to the cut. It kind of looks like it's all happening at the same time. But don't make the mistake of cutting with the shift of weight, right? The lower body's a little bit ahead of the upper body. There's a sense that the tip of the sword is the last thing moving. But it's not completely after the fact, right? You want it to be organic, driven from the lower body motion. So this fine calibration is really going to serve you, considering we do shomen cut over and over and over again in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different forms. And your mind can't always pay attention to this calibration. You have to kind of rely on it being there. So in your solo practice, you really have the time and space to study that. Let's see, this is too late. This would be too early, not even grounded. How can I really work on making sure the cut is matched to the hip turn? The hip turn still has that back foot connected to the ground. Foot finds its place. The cut and the hip turn happen together. All right, so let's work on, I think everyone here today knows the 8-count suburi, 8-count kata. So let's go ahead and work through that as a review. But you've got some things you can pay attention to. You can know in your solo practice, I've been doing the 8-count kata since the 80s. How do you keep it interesting, you know? It could get really boring if you're just kind of walking through it. So always bring something fresh to your practice. What are you practicing when you're practicing? Are you working on the pivot and where your foot is? Are you working on this calibration of cut with the hip turn? Are you working on your weight allocation? Are you working on your vision? All these different things that you can bring into it. Just choose one or two. Don't try to do everything at once. All right, so let's do number 1. Right foot forward, step back and cut. Forward and ski to the throat, pivot and cut. Weight is forward. Step back and cut. Forward and ski, pivot and cut. Number 2, you're going to close the distance. So you step forward and cut. Ski, pivot, cut. He's a little further away, so step up and close the distance. Ski, pivot, cut. Number 3, your partner or your opponent's right behind you, but he's a bit close. You want to create distance. Pivot and step back. He's behind you, but very close. Step back. Number 4, he's behind you, but he's a little further away, so you're going to step up. Greet him. You turn and step up to him. Number 5, he's around the corner, or he's coming to your right side. You're going to cover and step around to take his head. It's a shomen cut. So the cut is coming here. You turn your blade to receive it and cut. Then ski, pivot, cut. Now he's coming from your left. He's coming from your left. You want to receive that. Step around. Imagine cutting his head. You're coming in and closing the distance. Ski, pivot, cut. So let me borrow Jeff for a moment. If you could come into the frame, Jeff's going to help me out. There he is. All right, so if you're right there and you do, let's see, right foot forward, shomen cut, just go up and down. Yeah, that gives me an idea where I need to be. All right, back to where you were. So he's ready to come in here. I need to receive it, come around, and this is really close. It's a part of a practice form, so I'm going to step up. All right, and for the form, we keep all the angles 90 degrees. But when you imagine a partner, you can make it a little more organic. Turn your blade so you receive the cut on the side of your blade. There. That's almost number 6. Now my earpiece is falling out of my ear. See if I can put it back without disconnecting everyone. All right, if you could come this way, Jeff, just to the side of this blue line. So now on this side, gently come and kill me here. Here. Let's see, let's show them this angle. That's pretty good. All right, reverse engineer that. Here. So I'm going to have left foot forward. He comes in, receive, and come around. And again, for the form, I'm going to keep my angle 90 degrees here. If it was more of a partner form, everything's a little more organic, I might be here, adjusting for the distance. If he's a little further away, then maybe I step up to get him. All right, stay right there. Number 6, the same idea. He's coming for my head, but I'm going to come back and take the wrist. So think of a little bit distant target. He comes up, step up, but take your hip back. You got to get off of the line of his attack. Let's look at it this way. Here, step up, whoops, drop back. Number 6. Thank you, Jeff. So go ahead and let's work on 5 and 6 for a moment and just really use your imagination. Try to bring it to life. So back to this direction, right foot forward. Number 5, he's coming in to from my right side. I've got to receive his shomen, turn your hip, step forward. Then ski, pivot, cut. Now he's coming to my head from my left. Your eyes move first, receive the blow, and come and cut. For the form, we keep everything 90 degrees, 90-degree angles. Ski to the throat, pivot, cut. Number 6, I'm going to just take a larger distance, but it's the same idea. He's coming from the right, receive it, turn your hip. Imagine taking the wrist. And ski to the throat, pivot, and cut. Number 6, now my left foot's forward. Someone's coming from the left. You're going to turn your blade to address him. So the left hand is slightly pressing that handle. The right hand is not getting in the way of that, but working with the roll. You're rolling and turning the blade, coming in, and then cut with the turn of the hip. Ski to the throat, pivot, cut. Number 5 again. Number 5, the distance, you're going to close the distance, you're going to step forward. He's coming from the right. I'm adjusting my position for the camera. He's coming from the left. Step up. Now, number 6, he's coming from the right. Come to a point, turn, and He's coming from the left. Come into this position we worked on a little earlier, and pull this hip. Find the ground. Turn your hip as you cut. Throat, pivot, cut. Okay, so we put a little bit of a focus on 5 and 6. I have glare on my clock. Number 7, Irimi Tenkan. There's a couple different ways to do it. We'll focus on this one and more another time, but there's, you're gonna step up, pivot, and step back, or Irimi Tenkan. But roll your blade. Someone's coming at you from the front. You've got to roll the blade, step up, pivot, and step back. Ski, cut. So if I'm stepping up with my right foot, is the tip going to go to the right or the left? What makes sense here? If I'm stepping up with the right, it's got to be here. Another way, another scenario, martial scenario is, Jeff. Another martial scenario is that from Suzane here, meaning this is oriented toward my throat, this is oriented toward your throat. We both go for the throat at the same time, right? Mutual kill, ichi. In order to avoid that, we both raise a little bit. That's right. And then I'm coming around, yeah. If he just comes forward, and you stay right there, freeze frame, I would be coming all the way over to here to get the head, which you can probably barely see on the camera, but it's up here. All right, so you can use that imagination. Thank you, Jeff. So let's do number 7 this way, this sense of raising and escaping behind your partner to take their head. And ski to the throat, pivot, cut. Left foot now, raise and finish. All right, number 8, I'm going to show this direction first. Again, 2 different ways of thinking about it. There's a shomen coming in. I'm going to move my foot to the right and my tip, my blade to the left. My partner's coming in to my open side, my left side, if my right foot is forward, open side of my body. Roll, receive, and cut with weight forward. Ski, pivot, cut. Then my partner's coming from the right, open side. Receive, cut. Another way of thinking of this, number 8, is an uchiatosh kind of feeling. So he's coming in shomen, and I take it down to expose his head, and now I'm taking his head. Well, I said I wasn't going to spend too much time on this, but there's 2 different ways. So use your imagination to make the encounter rich. Bam, cut. Ski, pivot, cut. Now, someone's coming from my right. Bam, expose the head, take it. Ski, pivot, cut. So a couple different ways to think of 7 and 8. All right. On to ichi no tachi. The beginning of ichi no tachi, we're going to work on the kumitachi in May and exercises that help us improve how we do the kumitachi. So if you're new to it, it's a great opportunity to learn the kumitachi. And if it's very familiar territory, then it's a way to really shore up the whole infrastructure so that you can practice at a whole new level, hopefully in just a few weeks with our friends, maybe outdoors. So recall the fishbone exercise. I have this line in front of me. It's going to represent my partner's shomen. So let's just do that for a moment. Imagine there's an opening, slide forward and shomen. That's it. Your partner slides forward and shomen. So what you do is you introduce your blade in the middle of that cut. Imagine he's committed to the cut. You don't move too early, you don't move too late, just enough to take the wrist and then turn and step forward. All right. Jeff, why don't you come? Well, let's see if you're right on the line. What happens with the camera? Oh, let's split the difference halfway. Nice. Yeah. All right. So Jeff's intention, I give an opening. I drop my blade. He comes in to take the head. That's his intention. All right. So slow motion. As he does that, I want to reach up and get his wrist, but I don't want to be right on the line either. So I'm going to move off to the side. Then as you finish, I'm here. All right. Now let's look at it this way. As he completes his shoman, I'm over here, taking the wrist and taking the wrist. So you're cutting it from underneath, and then you're cutting it over the top. Let's go there. Yeah. And when you do your shoman, slide and cut. Okay? So in a sense, his shoman is just laying his wrist on my blade. All I have to do is introduce my blade in the right timing to his wrist, and he's going to go ahead and lop off his own wrist. Let's try this way. This position, turn, step back to take the wrist. This is the distance. Look what happens if I come forward, take his head. You may have seen other variations like that. Step forward, you take the head, you step back, you take the wrist. Let's come over here. When I first learned this form, it was a little different intention. This time, just slow motion. He comes up, you come right across, so you fall onto my blade, and I have to use my whole body to get it out, right? So a little bit more gruesome, but really illustrative. Here, if all that weight is on it, you have to use your whole body, so you don't pull with your arms. All right, but the way we usually do it, you just kind of tag the wrist, blade is up, feet and knees together, turn your hip, take the wrist. Sometimes, around about the early 90s, we did a small hamni position here, right? Stepping forward. If I change my position, if I take a really big sweep out here, then I can step forward to take the wrist and be in the right distance. So you see this very often in our ichi no tachi. Take a big distance, way out of the way, so that you can step forward to take the wrist. All right, thank you, Jeff. So now let's do that as a solo exercise. Imagine in your mind, you create an opening. So he thinks your head is open. He comes in, he's committed to take your head, and you're going to move out to the side, take the wrist. You can work on this position, feet together, knees together, this type of position, and taking your hip back, taking your hip forward, or the early 90s version, where you take a really large sweep, come into a small hamni stance, and then step forward. But in each case, your cut and the turn of the hip happen together. can number them in your mind. It doesn't matter. There's not a particular set. What's important is that you're bringing a clear intention and imagination to the situation so that, and you're always cutting with the turn of your hip. It could be this version, stepping back. Knees together, stepping forward. Sweep out into a small hominy, step forward and take the wrist. Sweep out at a little smaller distance, then take the head. Dangerous because you're coming in close. But that's what you can study, the timing and distance. The ma'ai and the, sometimes when you watch these masters on video or old film, their footwork doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like they're moving from hominy to hominy in the way that we do. But their timing is hard to really see on a video. And footwork is ultimately functional, functions to get you into the right place at the right time. So if you're 7th or 8th Dan, you can transcend good footwork, but none of us can do that. So work on good footwork. Out to the side, take the wrist. All right, so in each no tachi begins this way. One person lowers their sword and does this distinctive characteristic motion of each no tachi. And then the partner receives it, gives you a press, and you return to the other side of the line. Now, this external reference is fixed for our solo practice, but when you take it into a live dynamic encounter, the line that we're working around is defined by me and my partner. So it's organic, it moves. But for your solo practice, you can come out at a certain angle, take the wrist, receive a press, come to the other side. And if I drop the plumb line from the tip of my sword, it's on my reference line. That's useful in introducing a constraint to your practice so that you know what you're doing. You're creating specific angles and distance according to parameters that you set up so that you can do exactly what you intend. Imagine your partner comes in, wrist, wrist. Receive the press, take the other wrist. That's it. Let's look at it this direction. I make an opening. He comes. I could work very narrow angles. Here, here, here. Very narrow. Work wider. Here. Let's look at it this direction. Make an opening. Take the wrist. Step up, take the wrist. Receive, come to the other side. Let's look at it this direction. This time I'm going to do the small hominy. This time I'm going to do a variation where I step back. Really feel that pull of the hip. Okay, is it 11:30? Oh, it's just about 11:30. Okay, so we managed to go over Shihogiri as a breathing exercise. 8 count kata with a little bit of a focus on 5 and 6, and then the very beginning of ichi no touch.